get 6 metres of rain a year, and of course today is no exception. I'm going to be showing you how to use the kit and collect the kit that you're going to be using on your safari. So let's have a look around, and I'll teach you a couple of things about what we're going to be wearing on this trip.
The Oparara is one of those untouched wilderness areas, and it's in about as native a state as New Zealand forest can be. 16 years ago I came up here with 2.5 weeks worth of food. I stayed for 6 months. Yeah, I think you can see why. It's alright. By now, you should be getting to that stage where you're doing a bit of walking and you're getting used to the kit that you've collected. The best place to find kit is actually Trade Me. If you want to go all out and spend a few dollars, then go to What Price Glory. They've got all the safari needs you need, and when it comes to your own personal gear, really, so long as it's not too glaringly obvious and not plastic, it doesn't mean nothing. Essentially what we're going to be doing is walking for very long distances. This means that you're going to get a lot of salt chafe. You're going to get dusty. Here's one to talk. Dusty. Jesus. You're going to get dusty. You're going to get that horrible thing called nappy rash, because there's not going to be much water to go around. So you won't bathe until you do river crossings. You're going to need talcum powder. Talcum powder is going to be not only for your feet, which you need to do twice a day, but it's also going to be for your crotch. And one thing that I really recommend is getting yourselves a tube of 3B, breast, buttocks and bollocks. That was absolutely invaluable when I was walking across Otago. Well, we're going to go and have a look at something very special. Welcome to Galadriel Smear. Of course, it's not really a mirror at the moment. This was named Galadriel Smear before the Lord of the Rings movies. As a matter of fact, there's quite a few Tolkien-esque place names around here, including the Nimrodel, and I'm going to be showing you Moria Gate, which is just spectacular. Now, whether or not we want to admit it, even though that we are travelling in summertime, it's most likely that we're going to get wet. It's going to rain, we're going to get a nor'wester, and it's going to flow over the main divide. One of the pieces of kit that you're definitely going to need is an oilskin. I've had this since I was a much slimmer, fitter man. Getting wet here. And as you can see, it's had its fair share of stories. But what you need to do is you need to find one of these second-hand if you can, third-hand if it's even possible, and treat it. You can get a little bottle called Kiwi, and that'll do the job. I just did this a couple of days ago, and, well, at least my top half is nice and dry. You're also going to probably need a rain hat like this, although you'll find that there's a pit helmet we're going to use which will do the job just as nicely. You'll get a little bit wet, but it'll keep the rain off your face. As you can see, we're getting a meter today. It's hosing down here. Woo! Now, another thing we're going to need rope. Now, this kind of hemp rope is the best, because, well, to tell you the truth, we are going in character. So, get yourself some hemp rope if you can find it. If you can't find any, there's a little place in Bromley here in Christchurch which can help you out. Now, what we're going to be doing when we cross over the rivers, if it's really nasty and deep, or if there's been a bit of rain, we'll be roping each other up and crossing over as one great big stream of people. We'll be linking arms, and anyone who slips and falls doesn't get carried away. Carried away more than usual. Right, let's see about that Moria Gate. Now, one of the things about geyser bones is that when you get them, they've got a flannel lining. You want to rip that out. The reason for that is that I found that once these things get absolutely soaking wet, which every garment will eventually, the lining stays wet too. When you go to put it on, all of a sudden you're wet. You might as well not use it. So what I do is I rip all that out and use it without the lining. It dries very, very quickly, so that when you pack it away, you're not packing away wet gear. When we carry this sort of stuff with us on the field, if you're going to put it inside a pack, roll it so that the oily side is facing inside itself, so that the non-waterproof layer is on the outside. There's two reasons for that. One, if it's been raining, your gear doesn't get all wet. And two, oilskins are exactly that. They're oily, and you don't want oil all over your gear. Believe me, fellas, it's bloody horrible. Now, for nightwear, you're going to need a woolly hat, preferably a greatcoat, one of the old World War II style. You can get one for about $50 on TradeMate. You might also want to consider bringing grey wool blankets. It doesn't really look the part when everyone's got sleeping bags. We found that the ideal 3 woolen blankets, one goes underneath you on a ground sheet, so you'll need one of those as well. 2 go over the top of you, and you put the greatcoat on top of you above the blankets. Essentially what you end up with is something that is so warm you're not going to want to get up in the morning. It is bliss. To pack your sleeping gear in, I recommend a P37. That's a 1937 pattern, large pack. All of it will go in there except for your greatcoat, which can just remain with the vehicles. Taking a greatcoat along the trail is heavy. If it rains, it's going to get enormously heavy. And it also stays wet. So I really recommend that we just use greatcoats for sleeping and also for just being around the camp if it gets cold, which it will. One of the worst things about the Otago is that it's blisteringly hot during the day and at night bloody freezing. So keep that in mind. Now, underneath all this, I have got a woolen vest. You're going to need it. In fact, it's one of the things you ought to pack along with you as you're walking along the trail, because every 55 minutes we're going to stop. We're going to have a wee rest, and people can check their feet, give their feet a rub or whatever, have something to eat, have a smoke. Doesn't really matter. But the thing is that when you stop, you need to put something warm on, otherwise you're going to get the chills. Now, if it's 35 degrees and blue skies, even stopping in full sun, because there's no shade out there, is uncomfortable. And that's where the pith helmet comes in. I'll teach you more about that later. Boots are an important factor too. I found walking long distances that if you walk in the same boots for too long, your feet are going to swell, especially if you're not used to day in, day out walking huge distances. Now, what I want everyone to do is take their own pair of boots that they've got, and those who are walking are going to be supplied by MacKenzie's of Dunedin, which is absolutely brilliant. They're supplying our walkers with their own Kyburn style boot. This is a boot that I have never gotten blisters in. It's a fantastic boot. All the walking that you're doing at the moment, you shouldn't be getting blisters anyway. But what we're going to be doing is, if we've got an extra pair of boots, as soon as you feel your feet starting to become uncomfortable, very next day, change into your old ones. Alright? That way your feet stay fresh. So you won't have the same pressure points, and they get used to travel. Handy little tip that I picked up. While we're on handy little tips, here's another one. If you're going to bring a pipe, when it absolutely hoses down, use it like this. That way your tobacco doesn't get wet, and your pipe doesn't go out. You know, it's not often I say wow, but wow! That is gigantic. It's got to be at least 100 meters
all the very, very best, and I'll see you next time.